Welcome back to another episode of Caregiving with Aloha. Today I'm talking about choosing the right primary caregiver for your loved one. A lot of times people will look for the family member who's most available to help be the primary caregiver, to be the one living in the house with the older person with a physical or cognitive challenge. But that isn't always the best person for the job. And I'm basing this off of my experience of having an adult day center and working with the family members, because that's what I would do on a regular basis. And when it was, say, the grandchild who hadn't quite settled down yet, was still living a life of kind of a little more frivolity. They want to go out with their friends and party, and they don't have a place to really settle down to yet, so they can come live with grandma or grandpa. Well, they might not be the best person unless they really have the personality characteristics of somebody who will be very responsible, will be home in the evenings when the person may need the most support, right? That's when somebody could fall easier. That's when sundowning can happen. And so somebody who will actually have the right type of schedule, who will actually be willing to learn from the resources around them, actually seek out support groups, be willing to learn not only just online, but through agencies that are in the area who are offering maybe classes on caregiving, or utilizing them to know when they do need to go out or do something, to have somebody in place to fill their place. So that's the first thing to think about, because again, they might love their grandparent, but they might not have the skills or be in the right life situation to be the one who's the primary caregiver. Next, we want to think about, okay, if it might not be the one who's the most available, who is the right person? Of course, somebody who's physically close to them and who's willing to delegate and find the caregivers, whether they're friends and family or they're professional caregivers, is ideal. That's the person who keeps the person in their community where they have a support group and there are resources around that they may already be familiar with. Great. But if that can't happen and you need to move your loved one to be with a relative who does fit the bill for being responsible, willing to educate themselves, and who can actually find it in themselves to work with their loved one in a way that says, I know that you don't mean to be doing these behaviors. I'm going to study up on it, not take it personally, and I'm going to find the people who can help you. That's an ideal person. So if they do need to move somewhere else, you still want to have someone who can really find the right resources to help them, because now that means the older person has lost their support group, their community, and that's critical for them. So finding a new community for them to interact with, whether it's somebody who can take them to a day center or who can take them out for activities in the community. If that person is not able to do it, there are agencies that can actually do companion care and will find outings for them to go on. Or if they are able to go to a senior center but need some physical help getting there, then that person could coordinate a driver to do that and maybe take them out to lunch after or something. So there are ways to piece things together. If somebody's going to step in as the primary person to help the adult loved one, they need to get the support to make it happen. And even if they're the most organized person who's willing to educate themselves on everything, and they're really good at organizing the care situation and all the paperwork, they need to be able to take that time for themselves. So say your sister or brother are taking over the reins of caring for your parents. Offer to come in for that week or two. Say, I'm going to come spend time with mom. Please write down things that I'll need to know to make sure that she's well cared for, and please take some time for yourself and go somewhere, do something different. Hopefully financially they're able to do that. But even if they can't leave, maybe you can be there to actually take mom out to do things or to manage the schedule for them, so that they just have that time to not have to think for someone else. Because that is, I would say, the greatest challenge of caregiving, is you just need to be able to think for yourself for a while and to worry about yourself and take care of yourself, because you've become so concerned that the needs of the other person are so much higher than yours that you're not as much of a priority. And then you end up having maybe some health issues, mental health issues, physical health issues. So these are my thoughts on how to find the right caregiver who will be that lead for the loved one in your life. it's not always the first person you think of. The person who's most available or the person who's cared for other family members, they may be burnt out. The person who's most available may not be responsible enough. So just think about how to help piece it all together, and it'll all work out, because ultimately, this is the life story of the older person that you are helping. This is not your story to take the pen over and start dictating how it's going to end. Their journey is their journey, and just do the best you can to love them through it. You're there to help. And if things aren't perfect, if they don't go as you had hoped they would, it's okay. You're doing your best to help somebody else on their journey. And you also need to take care of yourself too. I hope this helps.